Hey guys, Demoman here, and let's go back to Star Citizen roles. So, let's talk about a very interesting role, and that's piracy. And it's a very interesting one for many reasons. Many of you out there in the verse like the idea of being a pirate. And a lot of you just want to be a pirate because, you know, get your hands on the booty, and all that sort of stuff. So, let's jump right in here. First of all, starting off your career as a young swab, a pirate, what you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to figure out your game plan. And what I mean by that is when the game goes live in all its glory of all the roles and stuff, if you're a pirate, you gotta look at the verse in a different way. You gotta look at the verse in a series of, like, rewards and risks. What are the factors here? And the risks to every reward as a pirate are quite high. Now, let's say you're a pirate, and or you want to be a pirate, and you're backing now, and you think, what ship am I gonna use for piracy? So let's get you started with ships. So at the low end of the spectrum, you could hire yourself out as a low-level pirate. You know what I mean? As a beginner pirate, and you could be a hired gun for a larger pirate group. You know, get your money that way. Well then, if that's your idea, I'd recommend to you to buy the Buccaneer. Now, the Buccaneer is a Drake fighter, but the reason I recommend the Buccaneer is because it's going to be super cheap to maintain. It's basically cobbled together from bits and pieces. Huge weapons, absolutely massive. So we're talking devastating firepower. Real nimble, quick little ship. I mean, great field of view. It's an awesome fighter. I'd highly recommend it to anybody. Hell, even if you're not a pirate, I'd recommend it to you. But if you're a starter pirate, this is where you want to go because it's cheap, easy to maintain, and it's Drake. And as we all know, Drake ships are very easy to maintain. You can swap bits and pieces out as you go along. Hell, you could upgrade your ship as you're pirating someone, take some nice bits and pieces off of their ship, and put them on yours, and there you go. But yeah, I'd recommend the Buccaneer as your first starter ship as a pirate, if you're looking to get in that way as a hired gun or something. Or, let's say you want to operate on a proper scale of piracy. You're stealing cargo and you're doing that sort of stuff. And yeah, that whole role in boarding actions and that sort of stuff. So I'd recommend ye old faithful Cutlass. Now, the Cutlass is awesome for pirating. It's got a tractor beam in the back, and this is why it's important. The tractor beam means you can take cargo out of a ship when they're in a zero-G environment, when you just disable the gravity locks, and it allows you to maneuver the cargo in space a lot easier and get the job done a lot faster and a lot safer. Meaning you can load more cargo in a shorter space of time. Because time is always going to be a factor when you're pirating because of, you know, like law enforcement, and not even that, the trader might have company, you know what I mean? They might have reinforcements that, like, you know, friends that have come on their way to come help and basically kill you, you know, because you just pirated their buddy. So time is always going to be a factor. So when you're using, like, thinking of buying a pirate ship, I'll go with the Cutlass, like if you want to steal cargo. Now, the Cutlass has good firepower. It seats quite a lot of people for what it is, and it's a really good boarding action ship because of where its docking rings are located. It allows you to blitzkrieg any location. Yeah, so Cutlass is a good one, and I'll go back to talk more about that ship in a bit. But now we'll move on to, so you guys are already a group of friends, and you all want to be pirates, and you're all good chums, and you want to go do some real good piratey goodness, or evilness. I'd recommend to you the Caterpillar. The Caterpillar is, if not the most modular ship in the game. You can turn it into whatever you want. It could be your pirate HQ. You could use it for anything. It's got great firepower, lots of turrets. Hell, and it's a Drake ship that has an escape pod. The entire bridge becomes a ship of its own when it detaches from the Caterpillar. How cool is that? So right, so the Caterpillar is an excellent ship, you might think, and you might think, oh yeah, well, I'll just take the Caterpillar right away. It's going to be a bit pricey. Yeah, it's a Drake ship, doesn't mean it's going to be cheap. Caterpillar is actually huge. It's longer than a Starfarer. It's not wider, but it's longer. Now, Problem with the caterpillar is it's not going to be mega maneuverable. It's going to be quite sluggish and things like that. And you might think, whoa, why is it good for piracy then? Well, because it's something that you would use with a couple of buccaneers or a cutlass in tow. The caterpillar will have multiple tractor beams to pull in the cargo and absolutely haul tons of it, and you can get out of there fairly quick with the amount of cargo that you can receive, and you could fill up the cutlass, and you've got yourself a nice little pirate group. But it's not something that would ever function alone, because chasing a target down might be a problem. And sure, it might have good engines for a straight line, but if they turn and you're gonna come after them in the same angle, if they go into something like an asteroid field, you're in big trouble. Because it's an asymmetrical ship, that means the pilot sits on one side and the tractor beam operator operates on the other. And where the tractor beam operator sits is on a sort of like a stalk or like a wing kind of thing, like a fin that sticks out the side. You're going through an asteroid field, it's quite easy to lose your tractor beam operator and that side of the ship if you're not careful. So yeah, I'd have to say that the caterpillar is something that needs a good crew and some support ships. So that's the ships pretty much covered. Now, as your role as a pirate, there's going to be a lot of the verse that you don't want to travel to, like heavily policed areas in UEE space. The military will probably shoot you on sight. You'll have bounty hunters and mercenaries coming after you. Players that are like, you know, really good at their role as a bounty hunter might want to capture you alive, or worse, which is dead. And I already covered how permadeath works. So as a pirate, yes, you will have some relaxing parts of space that you can travel to, like other pirate bases and things like that, but it'll never be 100% chill. And what I mean by that is you'll always have to have your guard about, because if you go into that space, let's face it, there's no honor amongst thieves. Other pirates might be jealous that you're doing so well and kill you and take your ship, or they might, you know, just kill you for the lols. You know, they might just be like, bang, ah, you know, I'm the best pirate around here, and then a bar fight will break out or something. But yeah, being a pirate is a very risky endeavor, but it is one hell of an adventure if you can pull it off. I'm not even kidding. We're talking, you know, we're talking Serenity kind of adventure here. So yeah, being a pirate's not all bad. It's got a lot of perks, and what I mean by that is free stuff. You can do all sorts of stuff as a pirate. You could look for a Genesis Starliner transporting people from A to B, and you could quite literally stop it dead in its tracks, attach your cutlass, and board it, and ransom everybody for credits on board, and be like, you know what I mean? Everybody, you know, credits in the bag. You know what I mean? Put all your credit cards in the bag. What do you have there? Oh, that's a fancy jacket. Put that in the bag too, you know, and like the whole train robbery sequence. And then you might even steal some modules off of the ship, you know. We'll take your Mixmaster and your DVD and your Blu-ray player. We'll take that as well. But yeah, you can do all sorts of cool stuff like that. Now, here's the thing. Each time that you do a raid, per se, you know, each time you try and pirate somebody, please plan it out. There is no need to just start blasting people, because that's how you end your pirate career very quickly. The better you are at piracy, funnily enough, the less violent you are. Because you'll go around, and each heist has got to be planned out. And I mean meticulously planned out. You've got to leave a little room for something to go wrong and things like that, so you have to have some capability of improvising on the spot. But you've got to always, 1, be in control of the situation. 2, always know what's going on, like with your own crew, because there could be someone who's like, oh, we should just kill these people and get out of here. You don't want any of that happening, because that basically jumps you up on the list of the most wanted. And how it's going to work is, you're going to want to be good at what you do as a pirate to the point where you're not the one who's at the top of the most wanted list. You'll probably reach that point when you've already made so many credits and like profits and stuff that they can't touch you. Because if you get to that top of that list before you're basically ready, you're going to be in a world of trouble. You're going to need to have enough credits to basically afford to pay people off, you know, on your bounty. To be able to say, hey, you know, that bounty's on me for, say, you know, 1 million credits. I'll give you 1,100,000 credits if you just leave me alone. And then there you go, the bounty hunter's gone. See, you don't have to worry about that stuff, because if you have a really big bounty on your head, you've got to remember it's not just the lone bounty hunter who will come after you. It's probably an organization of mercenaries that are looking to make a payday. And hell, even worse, your worst case scenario is it's a beginner group of players who are desperate to make credits and you're the big payout. And they jump in their starter ships, but there's just so many of them they can catch you off guard. And these guys have got pretty much nothing to lose. Think of them as a warband or something crazy like in Mad Max. They're going to be going balls to the wall, and you don't want that on your tail. You're going to want to have a decent, number of people you can trust around you. And as a pirate, that's not going to be easy. So when you're planning out your heists and things like that, always take it in mind that you're not there to make enemies, funnily enough. Because that's what gets you killed. Now, when you're pirating, see if you're going to pirate a whole series of ships. Like there's a hull B or something, and you're like, right, we need to get the cargo in X amount of time and get out. Say if you're getting that cargo and you start to run out of time, there's something else you can always do, which is take the entire ship. You can just quite literally take control of the entire ship. You don't need to kill the captain, you don't need to kill the pilot. You can just basically put them in the escape pods and shoot them out. And if there's no escape pods, you can drop them off at the space station. You don't need to kill them, because if you kill them, that causes problems. So you can take the ship, drop these guys off somewhere, put them in a couple of escape pods if you have to, and then you take the entire ship, you take all the cargo, and now you've got that entire salvage for that ship. And you have all the credits worth of cargo. You've just made yourself a jackpot score. Problem is, when you're breaking into ships, and this is on 10 for the chairman, you've got to remember that each door that you have to go through, you're going to have to do some sort of mini game where you hack the door and, then bust it open and all that sort of stuff. And it's going to be difficult. And this is all on time. You know what I mean? You're going to be pressed for time. Also, when stealing a ship, ships will have tracking devices and things like that, meaning they can send out distress beacons and things like that, and you might be being chased. If you steal a big ship, like a big hull ship, or the Misk mining ship, you steal something like that, you're going to want to get it out of UEE space fast, because no doubt there's going to be people after you, and they're going to have combat vessels, and they're not going to think twice of taking out your pirate ships that are following you, or your defense ships, and then basically bringing you in. Because let's face it, what kind of defense is a mining ship going to have? Now, as a pirate, you don't want to attack something too heavily defended. And by that, I mean you don't want to attack something that's like a lone whole ship, might look alone, and then as you get closer, you spot a couple of retaliators, a Polaris. Don't think to yourself in your cutlass like, oh, we got this, because it's never going to end well. Always assess the situation and plan it out ahead. Look for trade routes that, might be really, really popular to the point where no one's going to miss one ship. Or maybe lone trade routes where, the odd trader will go through. You might not find as many people, but if you do, and it's on the edge of, say, UEE space, then you might have less of a problem taking the entire ship. So, let's move on to the next aspect of piracy. And yes, the pirate life might be entertaining to a point, but you might think, oh, okay, I'm just going to go back and go to the UEE verse and go back to being a regular Joe. That's not the way it's going to work, because you're going to have a record. And you go back into UEE space, and you land at some, prestigious place, and somehow you get in without being scanned, you're going to be killed, or brought in, or you're basically going to get busted. The second you step out your ship, you are in trouble. So, basically, going anywhere where there's a big law enforcement is going to be a major problem. But here's the catch. If you're a pirate, and you're looking to do a heist, and what I mean by a heist is I mean a proper heist, so go down to a populated city, find some places got some sort of jewels and things like that, something of a high credit value that you can take. You can do a whole Ocean's 11 thing and do a proper heist. How cool is that? I mean, the possibilities of being a pirate are endless, but so are the consequences. The consequences are going to be very high, and the odds are going to be stacked against you. So when being a pirate, always remember the three things. 1, keep your head. 2, have a good crew, and 3, have faith in your ship. Because your ship is going to be your home. It's going to be what brings in the credits. It's going to be what gets you out of a tight spot. You're going to want to maintain and look after your ship above all else. When you're being a pirate, you've got to really calculate what is an acceptable loss. Like a loss to win ratio, because if you attack a whole ship and then all of a sudden a group of fighters come out of nowhere to defend it, and then you get into a dogfight and say you lose 3 buccaneers and the caterpillar's heavily damaged and you lose a cutlass, the what's in the cargo hold might not be enough to basically give you back the credits to what you lost. So you're going to be coming out of a loss every time. So basically, just planning, guys. If you want to be a pirate, you got to plan ahead. You can't be just crazy and fly in there and shoot everybody and think, hey, you know, I'm going to be like, you know, the most feared pirate around. No, people will say, oh, this guy's crazy. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's dead. No big deal. Easily forgotten. You want to be a pirate, and you want to be remembered for being a pirate, do things right. Plan things out. Nobody needs to die unnecessarily. Yes, if there's mercenaries on board a ship, you're going to have to kill them because they'll usually fight to the death. And if there's marines, it's the same deal. But if you play your cards right, you might just be able to find a large capital ship and claim it as your base. Because you'll be such a feared pirate, you'll have people joining you left, right, and center, and then you'll be able to crew something like a Bengal carrier. And you can look after it out there on the outskirts of UE space, and people will be like, oh, that's Greybeard's or something, you know what I mean? That's his ship and his thing. He built an empire for himself because he played smart. Now remember, folks, when you're being a pirate, what's the key thing you gotta remember here is play smart. Thank you for tuning in, folks. It's been awesome, as usual, to make videos for you guys, and we are at 136 subscribers. How about that? I mean, it's blown me away. You guys have put the biggest grin on my face. I mean, thank you so much, guys. Every like and subscribe makes me a little bit happier. Thank you. So yeah, as always, folks, you know the drill. I'll see you in the verse, Commanders, and fly safe.